Today, we are going to be going over the 6 leadership superpowers. Leadership superpowers are critical for driving innovation, building resilient teams that navigate change effectively. I'm Eileen, Senior Business Analyst at Gozynta, and I'm here with the Gozynta Leadership Team.
My name's Brendan. I'm the president of consulting and support, and my superpower is the Adaptability Shield.
I'm Heather Johnson. I'm the CEO of Gozynta, and my superpower is culture architect.
I'm Faith Johnson. I'm the Director of Marketing at Gozynta, and my superpower is the empathy engine.
I'm Brian Johnson. I'm the CTO of Gozynta, and my superpower is trust magnet.
When Gozynta faces a difficult moment or uncertainty, what role do you naturally step into?
Difficult moments happen. That's something with business. And for me, I always want to make sure everyone's okay. Being the culture architect, that is part of it. But I also like to fix things. And I had a background as a journalist. And so I like to research. Research is my happy place because maybe I can find an answer under a hidden rock that will kind of help with that difficult moment or uncertainty. Uncertainty is not my favorite position to be in. I hate that word. I think a researcher that I can then give information to the team where we can kind of navigate the situation a little better. And then just also to make sure that everyone is feeling okay. I think that's an important part of those difficult moments.
I'm also a big problem solver. I tend to lean into the problem-solving puzzle role. I like to just fix, even if it's maybe premature in the fixing. When we probably should still be talking, I like to offer, like, what if we did this or this? So I think that's definitely something that comes up a lot when we do have uncertainty and difficult moments.
Mm.
The Adaptability Shield really is about thriving in an uncertainty. So we need to be able to make quick decisions, fail fast, understand what's working, and also what's the opportunity that we're trying to solve. It's about leading through challenge and change, especially when the challenge is just that. It's uncertain.
Mm.
So being able to, the agility here matters when leading the team through that challenge. You are on stage at any given point. So if you're freaked out, the team is also going to be freaked out.
Good point, yeah.
I think if there's uncertainty or there's difficulties, I always like to put it in perspective. I think this goes back to my MXP experience, right? Because you always need to triage. So it's, what's the worst case? What's the best case? What are our options? And then try to make good decisions around those. But it always helps to look at, okay, how bad could this be?
Probably give you like an over at like a kind of 500-foot view or whatever they say, right? Kind of you can see all the angles.
Yeah, you have a new problem coming in. And when there's a new problem coming in, it's really easy to say, oh my God, there's a big problem. We got to solve this right now. And if you can put it in perspective, sometimes the problem seems a lot smaller, and that helps everybody calm down and be able to execute on it a little bit more rationally rather than emotionally. Or maybe it's something like, maybe we can put it aside for a little while. We don't have to solve it right now because it's actually not as big of a problem as it seemed initially.
Yeah, you do a great job with that, Brian. I know most of the times when we do encounter a problem, even if it feels huge at the time, you'll say, what's the worst that happens? We get a fine if we don't do this in time. We're not going to close over it. Like, let's just take a breath. And that is a really important thing as a trust magnet. I think it's great. You really keep us based in, let's not make it out of proportion. Let's look at what's actually there.
I've taken many of notes from that viewpoint too. What's the worst that's going to happen here? Which also aids in the agility to move.
When the leadership team disagrees, how do you help move the group forward? You want to take that?
We really rarely disagree as a leadership team. I think it really has to do with the fact that we all have different leadership superpowers and we can all look at it from different angles. But the few and far between times that we have disagreed, I like to step into the role of making sure everybody's point of view can be heard. Especially, I feel like people can get defensive when they don't feel heard, and then they can start escalating the situation when it doesn't need to be escalated. And really, all that needs to happen is to slow down, hear the full point in a calm and collected way. And then it doesn't seem as big of a deal. It doesn't seem as blown out of proportion because everybody can say their piece.
Yeah, I think you're 100% with that, Faith. And even MSPs that we work with, a lot of the times that they have in personality conflicts in meetings is that somebody's not feeling heard. Somebody's feeling like their voice can't resonate. And that makes them feel like they're a lesser part of the team. And that builds all this resentment. So, that is a huge part, is everybody feeling heard. And it doesn't just happen. It has to be orchestrated.
I agree with you, Faith. We don't disagree very often. This leadership team is very well aligned on our direction. But I do encourage, when disagreements happen, that everybody should be direct in regular consulting meetings, because all points of view need to be heard. All grievances need to be heard. That way you can collectively make a decision with all of the information on the table. And sometimes that decision needs to wait till the next leadership meeting or consulting meeting so that they can either talk about it externally and come back. And sometimes it's just the decisions that we make during those calls at the time and see what works.
So I'm going to disagree here. I think we disagree regularly, but we work through it. We talk through whatever the disagreement is, understand each person's perspective, understand why they think that way, and then we work together to come to an agreement at the end once we all have kind of the same information. And sometimes that's going to be because, like, one person, even in the end, we might not all end up agreeing, but one person feels more strongly about it than somebody else, or it's more one person's responsibility than somebody else's. And so that kind of helps determine who wins.
Yeah, and it's interesting, Brian, you're right. I mean, disagreement sounds negative. But when the leadership team meets, we all have different opinions we're bringing to the table, and we choose one. So we are back to back making decision after decision after decision. A lot of, I think, why our team makes decisions easier is because we are very value driven, and our values are at the center of all of our decisions. We are so focused on our values, empathy, directness, growth, and excellence, that looking at that in some of our decision making really does help guide us, because we are constantly thinking of that as we make decisions.
And you're right. Yeah, maybe disagree. It seemed a little negative. It's not like a fight. It's just you guys have differing opinions.
It relates to doing one-on-ones with team members, right? We have a lot of small disagreements and we talk through them. You have one-on-ones with your team members so that you can make small adjustments with them on what they're doing, rather than having to make a big adjustment on a quarterly review time. It's the same thing.
Yeah, and also we're coming at things with different priorities. Brendan's priority is, of course, going to be consulting and service delivery, and Faith's going to be looking at marketing. Brian hears us say all the time, "Can you just do this?" And we say that all the time to Faith. "Can you just throw some ads or do a drip campaign?" That's an enormous amount of work. So it's really important as a leadership team for us to say, that would take this much time. Are you aware of that? Is this really what we should be doing? Is this what we should be putting our time in? So knowing that, it's just making sure that our perspectives are constantly being represented, because that's what we need. That's why we have these meetings, is to make sure that all of our departments have a voice themselves.
What is something that your superpower protects Gozynta from?
Well, apparently my superpower is trust magnet, which makes sense because trust is something that's core to me personally. I can remember times early in my career where there's been an inadvertent conflict of interest, and it's like, but why don't you? And I look at it as a question of my integrity, which is something I value very strongly, and was insulted by that. But it also, like, if you act in a trustworthy way, it protects you from all kinds of problems. It
Right.
can protect you from legal problems. It protects you from, issues where people are like, why did you tell me this when it wasn't true?
Yeah.
For sure.
And it just comes down to acting ethically.
Yeah. For me, I am a culture architect, and what I've seen time and time again is most companies don't become unhealthy overnight. It's not it's a really small, gradual thing. And culture is something that doesn't just happen. It's really deliberate and it erodes very gradually. If you stop being deliberate about building it and nurturing it, then it starts to erode. There's like those small behaviors that get ignored. You bring on a high performer and they get away with being difficult. We've learned that lesson. We don't do that anymore. Leaders tolerate behavior because they don't want to confront it or make someone upset. And that part of what I look at is stopping that drift really early. I'm really, really strict about, brilliant jerks. I don't want a brilliant jerk on our team. I don't need that. We have the no asshole rule. We stay very true to that because that has a quiet erosion of trust for the whole team. You bring somebody in like that, and that ruins the work environment for your other brilliant people that aren't being jerks, and also making sure there aren't any politics and silos, and make sure that we don't have a culture that looks great on paper but is really heavy in practice. So that's really important, and I think that my superpower helps with that.
I think the empathy superpower and the culture superpower are kind of tandem with each other. They really
I would
go
say
hand in
that,
hand.
yes.
And I feel like with the empathy superpower, I kind of go right in the same vein of figuring out on the human side of things where we can just to make sure we're staying human and we're staying true to our core value of empathy, and looking at the human side of, if we had an internal problem, are we looking at what that person could be going through or what that person is experiencing, where I think sometimes it's easy to just look at it as this is an issue and it needs to be solved. And I
Right.
think that's something that Gozynta really has going for us, is that in our core values, we have that human side of things, and we really have that we're looking at every step of the way. We're looking at that in our consulting and in our internal employment as well. We are always looking at the human side.
The Adaptability Shield really helps us stay ahead of the ever-changing landscape of the MSP community, softwares that are up and coming, and how to help our clients and ourselves stay ahead of the curve.
Where can your superpower become a weakness if you aren't intentional about it?
I know mine can definitely become a weakness when I'm focused too much on other people and not focused enough on myself. And I know that when it becomes super busy and everybody has a lot going on, I can definitely overextend myself to make sure everybody else is being seen, having their stuff taken care of, and all of that, where then stuff in my world starts lacking and stuff in the marketing department starts lacking.
For me and the culture, it's really hard to lean into having those hard performance conversations, but one of our values is directness. So it's really important that I do, but it's easier to keep things positive. It's just happy, joyful. But part of what I think is so valuable in our culture is that directness. So trying to find that balance. Also, a weakness could be holding on to someone who's a culture fit, but is not delivering. That's been a hard one for me in the past. And prioritizing harmony over accountability. But really, the truth is that healthy cultures are really built more on clarity and standard, not on comfort. So that's something that I have to get more comfortable with. And I have over the years. I've gotten a lot of practice.
So adaptability is powerful, but change can really create a lot of uncertainty. If it happens too fast, teams might struggle to keep up with it. So there has to be some kind of organizational change management process in place to make things feel stable and keep up with priorities. We want to be as transparent and ease into transitions, clarify the why behind the changes. The why is so critical. We also want to make sure that we're balancing flexibility with stability. So some processes should absolutely remain consistent. If it's not broke, don't fix it. And we also need to make sure that we're following through, helping our team through these changes in difficult times, and then making sure that we're not pivoting too often. It's making sure that we're good at what we just implemented before we go to the next thing.
When your quarterly strategy consulting meeting comes around, how does your superpower shape the questions you ask or the risks you pay attention to?
We call that strategy consulting Stratcon. And Stratcon is the purposeful planning of who we are, our identity, and making sure that our root structure is solid so that we can build on a foundation. We make sure that we look at what are we good at, what are our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. We want to make sure that when I go into these strategy meetings, is the juice worth the squeeze on the changes that we're looking for? And that saying used to drive me nuts. And now it's a part of my regular vocab. We want to make sure that we're setting long-term goals. And this big, hairy, audacious goal that we're going to set, it may seem huge and out of reach right now, but even in our own Stratcon, we're getting closer and closer to hitting that goal with purposeful goals to get us to there. So we set the long-term goals, and then we break that down into our 5-year, 1 year, and then quarterly. So our quarterly goals make sure that we are on target to hit our annual. Risk management is key as we begin going through strategic consulting. What's the market look like? If we pivot to the market demands, what are the risks associated with that? Are we good at where we're already delivering? Leading through these times really needs to be with confidence and embracing the change. So the risk that I'm paying attention to is this, what is the risk to the business if this fails?
Makes sense.
Yeah, for me, I feel like, especially our team, is that when we set goals, we get really, really excited about goal setting and because we've done some amazing things with this team. And I think that the team, when we start our planning, we take on maybe more than we can chew, and maybe not, because this team is really capable of so much. But I always try to ask the questions of, is someone going to get burned out? Is this going to be too much work for a part of our team? Are we being really realistic with what this really means to do this? Because yes, we want to push, but we also want to have this continue to be a place that people enjoy to work, not that they feel like they have to always work. We want to celebrate work-life balance, and we want to, have a good time and have smiles on our faces, not be gritting our teeth. So just making sure that our goals are not set so high that we are doing teeth gritting. And that, I think that's really important, because when you have a bunch of really driven, excited people, it's hard to say, take that a little bit back, make that a little more realistic, so we aren't pushing too hard.
You're 100% right. It's the SMART goals. Is this realistic? And is it achievable?
Mm-hmm.
Are the two big ones.
And we always go, yes, it is.
Yes, we do. Always. Yep.
But that also comes down to a trust thing. If we're setting goals that are unrealistic, then that's going to erode trust.
Absolutely. So how do the four of your leadership superpowers complement each other in practice?
I can answer this one. Faith, she's the empathy engine. There's so many times that she comes up and says, have we thought about this? Or do you think that this person might be feeling this way or the other way? And I know she's done that to other members of the leadership team, just bringing things up in a way that we can fix it early. She eliminates friction or anxiety or unintended cultural damage, that we have a good strategic decision, but maybe it's going to be something unintendedly painful to somebody. So she's so good at that. And that's amazing. The adaptability shield with Brendan, he allows me to not be able to be too cautious, because he's already thought of all sorts of backup plans and probably has them written down and maybe has them in separate Asana tasks already. And it's so great, because, something that I'll be thinking, oh, are we okay with this? And I'll ask that question. And all of a sudden there's, a whole bunch of charts and plans. And if this happens, we go this direction. And then this happens, we go this direction. That for me avoids analysis paralysis, which I can very much get into. So that's incredibly helpful. Brian, if Brian is behind something, we have organizational buy-in. I think whenever we're talking about something, if he says, yes, I'm on board, we all feel very comfortable, because his opinion and viewpoints are so honored in the team, because he researches everything and only speaks when he knows for sure. And if he doesn't, then he says he doesn't know for sure. And then he follows up with probably a video and more information. But when he's
okay, Brian, be quiet now.
No, it's always really when he's behind an idea, any change that we make really does feel safer and gives some of our difficult decisions. It gives us more confidence to move forward with them.
The beauty of our leadership team is that we do all have different superpowers, and it makes our meetings interesting and exciting, and the conversations aren't all rhetorical. No decision is rhetorical and no answer is rhetorical, because everybody has something to say and brings to the table. And Heather has the culture part down, where everything is working in its own way in the background. It seems like the culture kind of develops itself, and everybody knows what our culture is. Everybody on the team fits the culture. Everybody on the team breathes our core values. And it's something that Heather's really worked hard to build that and make sure everybody knows it. And everybody on the team has then pushed it along and made sure it was living and breathing through everybody that works here.
To add to that, the culture isn't even really, it's not forced. It never has been. When we hire strategically, we hire for core values. We hire for who we want to bring in, because Heather, like you said before, that no asshole rule, because that cancer spreads quick. And the entire team gets behind it. We're not cheerleaders of our core values every day. It comes up naturally. And it just becomes the day-to-day part of who we are. So that's that culture architect. It's taken a long time, Heather, for you to put that together, and it complements the rest of what we're all doing.
And actually, if you don't mind, I'll tell people on calls, I'll say, I'm new to working here, but I'm not new to Gozynta. And I could, even not working here, I could see that culture from outside, as a company. So I said, I really loved your company. I really like your product, everything. People on the outside, not just inside, can also see that you guys work really hard on your culture.
I really appreciate that, Eileen. Thank you.
What is one moment where another leader's superpower has helped you lead better?
I know that Brian as a trust magnet has definitely helped me to be a better leader. Recently, he had a difficult conversation and he shared the process he went through with the leadership team. And the way he handled it with grace and care, but also directness, helped me gauge as a manager myself that there's different ways to handle the difficult conversations. So they don't have to all be awkward and uncomfortable. They can still be graceful and direct and get the point across and not feel so heavy.
Brendan, one of his favorite things to say is to go in with curiosity. When there's a difficult conversation, when there's a difficult situation, go in and figure out why. That's a valuable thing that I always try to keep in mind.
Leading with curiosity is difficult. I think everybody on this team has inspired me to lead better. Leadership is about taking things that you admire about each other and starting to pull that in to shape who you are as a leader. And it didn't matter what company I was with before, I always took a piece that I was like, this is helpful. So Heather has helped me lead better. That when I'm at a situation, to make sure that I'm direct with my feedback. Faith's empathy engine has absolutely helped me go in with curiosity, but it's mindful. I have to keep it at top of mind. And the trust magnet, Brian, when he speaks, it absolutely holds volume. And that's because we all trust him. So learning that trust is critical. Well, I knew of its importance beforehand, seeing it in reality and how that works every day has really shaped who I'm morphing into as a leader.
There's so much that I'm learning from everyone because as a leader, you are constantly learning. Brendan, there's so many times now that I start writing down A's and B's and kind of figuring out every path that I can go. That's been so helpful. And his leadership advice that he gives it does stick in my head. There are short phrases that are just so catchy, and then I'll use it at some point. Faith is a huge go-to when I'm trying to figure out how to deal with people's situation, but also as we grow, she is bringing out things to me that I maybe am not seeing because she really is looking at it from marketing, looking at the customer's perspective, and not just one customer's, but a customer that is a new MSP, a customer that's an old MSP. She has so many viewpoints and she brings those up. And then I need to keep thinking of all of those viewpoints of new employees that have been with us for a long time. What are all their experiences? And that's a really important viewpoint that she always is keeping in my head. And then Brian, yeah, if I get that nod of approval that I'm on the right path, then I can go 100% forward. If he makes the, then I'm like, oh, wait, I'm still researching that. Let me get back to you. It's not ready for prime time. So that it's incredibly helpful.
I think we all do that when Brian goes, all right, hey guys, stop
No, that wasn't it. That wasn't it. No,
Stop
not
it.
done.
Any final thoughts?
The 6 leadership superpowers were created from business academic research. And, it's really important to know the people that you're working with. And sure, maybe you know what they get on their taco or in their coffee. That's a certain amount of knowledge. But when you're actually working with people, it's not like, oh, this is the difficult one, or this is the one that really won't stop harping about what all the employees are thinking. If you have your whole team take the 6 leadership superpowers, you have an additional superpower of knowing why are they standing up for the things that they stand up for.
Right.
Instead of having it be like, well, this one is always harping about something and this one's everyone just has something they care about and they have a superpower that they're trying to bring to the team. So if you allow them to lean into that and have it be a superpower instead of something that isn't as valued, you are bringing yourself miles ahead. So just by, we have the QR code up here, find your superpower, click it, give it to your team and have them all take this because it's amazing when you can value and appreciate the other people on your team and what they're trying to stand for and what they're trying to do. Plus, you can work so much better with them. So I think everyone should have their teams do this.
It's backed in research from the Harvard Business Review, McKinsey. So this
wow.
isn't just something that we came out with. It was well thought out, well researched. Thank you, Heather. So I do encourage all of our consulting clients to take this as well, because it helps me understand their superpowers and what they're good at. That way I can watch for maybe what is their kryptonite to this, where it could be a weakness.
And we know it works because all of us have the correct superpower. So amazing.
That's true. That is very true.
And it's interesting. You can see how they do all work together. Like I would say Heather and Faith, like they complement. That's very much like an empath, right? And then Brian and Brendan, you know that Brendan and Brian both have researched, have thought of all the angles, right? Then all four of you work really, really well together too.
You are a combination of all of them. And when you do the quiz,
Mhm.
you get your results, you'll find out what your secondary superpower is, because yeah, we're not all fully one. So you do get to learn a good amount about yourself.
So thank you everybody for joining. You can scan the QR code here to take your quiz to find your superpower, and to find out more about Gozynta Consulting, you can scan this QR code.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everyone.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.